Sorry, my dear friends, I'm finally at my desk, which, if you could see it, it is very chaotic. It is a mess. But in mess we find some neatness. I'm a very chaotic mess person, but if you ask me to go find a pen, I can find it. In this mess, if you ask me for a certain type of pen, I can find it in this mess. But we're going to be going over the parable of the sower today. Today is officially 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks of Lent. We got two more weeks. If you're going by non-denominational standards, if you're Catholic, it may be another week or less a week. And I started earlier than I don't know. I don't know other denominational. I don't know. I don't know that answer. But we're almost done. We're going over the parable of the sower. So let's go ahead. Before you guys say anything, yes, my shirt says they call me the honey badger. Yes, it does have a honey badger on it. I was called that in high school. This is my favorite high school sweater. And it still fits. Not many of us can say that. This is the only sweatshirt I think I can still wear from high school, so I like it and it has a good memory to it. So let's go ahead and get into our parable. Alright. Again, he began to teach beside the sea, and a very large crowd began to gather around him, so that he got into a boat and sat in it on the sea, and the whole crowd was beside the sea on the land. And he was teaching them many things in parables, and in his teachings he said to them, "Listen, behold, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where it did not have much soil. Immediately it sprang up, since it had not depth of soil, and when the sun rose it was scorched, and since it had no root it withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no grain. And the other seeds fell into good soil and produced grain, growing up and increasing and yielding 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. And he said, He who has ears to hear, let him hear." So the parable of the sower is like one of my top favorite parables that Jesus talks about, because Jesus talks about us falling into certain types of crowds. Like when he says the birds came and picked them up and devoured them, he's talking about people getting picked up by sin and they're being devoured by their sin. At least I believe that's what he means. We're devoured by our sin. We fell along the path, we were devoured by our sin. And then he goes to say, they hit rocky ground where it did not have much soil, and immediately it sprang up, since it had no depth of soil. So they didn't really get a chance to spring. So like these people, they get a taste and then they back out. Then there is the person who is scorched and the root withers away. I have trouble always figuring out, because Jesus separates us into these, like saying, okay, you guys are going to be seeds in this parable. Everybody in his parable, I love that Jesus, he didn't speak in riddles. I feel like, because when I look back in history, I see that God is a really big fan of art. He's always loved art. Throughout history, he has loved art. So it seemed fitting that he come down to earth and he speak pure poetry. I mean, our first chapter of the Bible, if I can even get to our first chapter, is just pure poetry. Is pure poetry. So it's only fitting that his son comes down and do the exact same thing and speak in these poems, separating people. Now saying that the person about that the seed fell in good soil and was able to produce grain, and in that producing, they're able to produce more than just the grain they produce. They were able to go out and do more stuff. I love it. I love that God and Jesus, they love art throughout history. It seems that they were fans of art. It seems like it's the only thing they favor that we as humans created. Now, I mean, they created it before any of us. I mean, you look around the world and you see the best painting on earth is the earth itself. So God, the parable of the sower is one of my favorite parables. I like Mark's version of it better. I feel like Mark hits it. But that's my favorite mine. We are officially we hit the 3-week marker for Lent. So 3 to last week of Lent. I'm wording this really confusingly. So we only have 2 weeks to go. Only have 2 weeks. You can push through this. If you're not doing Lent, I completely understand. It's sometimes you got a lot on your plate. But again, always make time for the Lord. And again, if you couldn't do Lent, I still suggest that you fast some sort even after Lent. If you couldn't do 40 days, try 10. Take something out of your diet for 10 days. Do something. Make sure you fast. Fasting is an important thing that we Christians do. Now, if you didn't do Lent, that's completely okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to say, well, you should have. No, I'm just going to say, at some point, you should fast. It helps you grow a greater spiritual connection with the Lord. Good, because you're taking that time, that whatever you took away, you add more to it. It's really nice. I have added a lot to my days. A lot. I recently rearranged my whole room. That's why I'm sitting at my desk right now and not I got to rearrange my whole desk again. Originally my bed sat where my desk was. That's a story I'll tell you guys in a stream. Perks of being ADHD. But again, my dear friends, Cherry and God bless. If you're doing Lent, keep pushing. 2 weeks left. We just hit the 3rd mile marker. Keep pushing. We're almost done. If you're another denomination, I don't know the other denominations. I'm non-denominational, so mine ends on the 17th. So if you're not non-denominational and you have a different date, type in the chat and tell me. I will still keep encouraging you. Heck, I might even go as long as you. So if you type in the chat and tell me, you gotta tell me. You gotta tell me somehow if you are going longer. Alright, my dear friends, that's all I got for you tonight. Wow, this is coming to an end. We are almost done with this first event in this first series. Wow. We're almost done, guys. Keep pushing through, guys. Cherry, and God bless, my dear friends. Have a blessed night.